We begin with this Fox News alert. A decision could come at any moment in the high-stakes legal battle over President Trump's immigration order.
The fate in the epic showdown between the White House and judicial authority now in the hands of the Ninth Court of Appeals.
Griff Jenkins is live for us in D.C. with the very latest. Griff, this was really something to listen to.
It is. Good morning, Heather and Abby. And we could get a decision as early as today. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals deciding whether or not the president's travel ban should remain in effect. The hearing, which was conducted by phone, got very heated at times as a three-judge panel hammered away at the administration over their motivation for the ban.
Has the government pointed to any evidence connecting these countries with terrorism?
In 2015 and 2016, both Congress and the administration made determinations that these 7 countries posed the greatest risk of terrorism, and in doing so restricted visa waiver to people who had even traveled to those countries over the last 5 or 6 years. The executive order relies on that determination.
The judge is also pressing attorneys from Washington State and Minnesota.
We just need to prove that it was motivated in part by a desire to harm Muslims.
How do you infer that desire if, in fact, the vast majority of Muslims are unaffected?
The public statements from the president and his top advisors reflecting that intent are strong evidence, certainly at this pleading stage, to allow us to go forward on that claim.
And earlier in the day, President Trump, at a meeting at the White House with sheriffs, expressed frustration over the case.
I actually can't believe that we're having to fight to protect the security, and a lot of people agree with us, believe me. They want to see our borders secure and our country secure.
Now, while we await that decision, it's important to note that this ruling is not about the constitutionality of the executive order, but merely over whether or not it can be reinstated, guys.
President Trump saying he will take it all the way through the system if he needs to.
We'll watch this very closely. Thank you.
Joining us now with much more on this, the editor-in-chief of LifeZette, Fox News contributor Laura Ingraham, and from the American Center for Law and Justice, Jay Sekulow is with us. You filed an amicus curiae in this case, an amicus brief in this case. Are you as shocked as I am? I felt that you put in issues in your brief that the government and the Department of Justice representative that was arguing they should have been using, that they didn't use. Did you see information and law left on the table here?
I did. You know, look, I think this is a really clear-cut case. The lawyer for the Department of Justice was asked the question, are you saying, this was from the judges, that the president has the authority to do this on his own initiative? Is this his authority exclusively? And the answer to that question should have been immediately yes. That's what the Constitution says. That's what the statute says. But the Department of Justice lawyer hedged for a long time, and then they, as you just mentioned, they adopted this fallback position that, well, if you think it's overbroad, and I've done overbreadth statute cases at the Supreme Court, you could strike down part of it but uphold part of it. That is not the way you do this. The way you go into this case is the president had the authority to do this, period. The court may disagree with the policy, but that isn't the legal issue. The legal issue is, does the President of the United States have the authority statutorily, constitutionally, to make this determination, this, as the statute says, this proclamation to put in place what he did here? And the answer to that is absolutely he does, and it's rather unremarkable. You know, I mean, this is not a big issue, but they made it one, and...
Yeah. And let me go to Laura. There were really a very simple issue before the court. Did the president have the authority? I just put up the law. It's very clear constitutionally. The legislative branch gave him the authority. It's his #1 job as commander-in-chief. Did the judge have the authority to put the ban in place? Beyond that, the Ninth Circuit judge is asking these questions about, well, after 9/11. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was frustrating to watch. This is a frustrating argument for a lot of us to watch, I think, because this Justice Department lawyer is a career lawyer arguing this case on the telephone. This clearly the Trump team was not ready, and Jay, I bet you agree with me on this, was not ready to defend this executive action in court. The petition should have been filed in every circuit court in the country within 10 minutes of this thing, frankly, being challenged, and we knew it was going to be challenged. They should have the petition already written for the Supreme Court because they know it's going there. And yet there seemed to be hesitation when he was asked about, well, what evidence did the president have to believe that these 7 countries? I'm thinking to myself, judges are now second-guessing the executive authority of the President of the United States, who is the commander-in-chief and in whom the Constitution vests the power to handle these types of matters.
I was listening to the special counsel for the Department of Justice, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, where's the Solicitor General or Donald Trump bringing in, or even bringing in temporarily outside counsel, strong, disciplined advocates instead of a career DOJ guy that I didn't get the impression even did his due diligence in preparing for this case? Jay, I don't fault the administration.
What Laura said is absolutely
Justice.
correct. I mean, it was painful to watch this. I mean, this was painful to listen to this argument. And it's because the lawyers didn't have their heart in it. And Laura's also absolutely correct. This is going to the Supreme Court. So none of these questions asked by these judges, including the ridiculous question about motive, you know, the answer to that should have been, when they asked that question, so what? What does that have to do with it? This isn't an evidentiary hearing.
Right,
this is a decision where a district court judge enjoined the President of the United States from something he has the statutory and constitutional authority to do. That is the only question there, and they just weren't ready. And I really do think the Solicitor General's office should have been in there. I know we don't have a confirmed SG yet, but there are career SGs that are familiar with the appellate process.
Well, in that sense,
was a
the Democrats
I'm sorry, I don't like to be critical of other lawyers, but this was a horrible argument.
But this is important because the Democrats' purposeful delaying of the President even getting his Attorney General in place or the Solicitor General in this particular case hurt the President because now you have a career special counsel of the DOJ.
Right.
All right, let's talk about the next step. Knowing that the most overturned appeals court in the country is the Ninth Circuit, the most liberal, let's assume they were to rule against the administration, which is a possibility, although I was a little surprised that their questioning seemed to favor the administration more than I would have suspected. But, Laura, my question to you is, if they do not go with the administration, let's walk through the process. Doesn't it go to Anthony Kennedy? Justice Kennedy?
Yeah, well, yes, he's the justice in charge of the Ninth Circuit. So, and Jay, you could back me up on this. I mean, this is a big waste of time of the Ninth Circuit. They can go right to the Supreme Court. These are exigent circumstances involving matters of national security and the sovereignty of the United States, going right to the executive branch powers. This entire Ninth Circuit charade is not going to get them anywhere.
Hello, and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's Morning Briefing. The White House has released a list of 78 radical Islamic terrorist attacks that they feel have been widely underreported. Curiously missing from the list, however, are any and all attacks that have taken place in the Jewish state. The list comes following a series of comments made by United States President Donald Trump in which he stated, quote, "In many cases, the very, very dishonest press doesn't want to report it. They have their reasons and you understand that," end quote. The list includes attacks that took place all around the world between September 2014 and December 2016, and it includes incidents such as the attacks in Paris in November 2015 and the mass shootings in Orlando, Florida last June, and San Bernardino, California in December 2015. Terror attacks in Israel, however, just since September 2015, have numbered over 350 and include stabbings, shootings, vehicle ramming attacks, and a bus bombing. Former United States Ambassador to Israel Daniel Shapiro tweeted that the omission of any and all attacks in Israel from the list is really hard to explain and were genuinely underreported. Egypt has condemned the regulation law which the Knesset approved on Monday, saying it undermines the two-state solution. Egyptian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ahmed Abu Zaid said in a statement last evening that such unilateral measures would obstruct the efforts to revive the peace process between Israel and the Palestinian Authority. The regulation law came under fire from several countries. Jordan and Turkey, two other Middle Eastern countries to have diplomatic ties with Israel, strongly denounced the law as counterproductive to reaching a two-state solution to the conflict. Turkey's foreign ministry said Ankara strongly condemned the law, which gives approval to various settlements consisting of 4,000 units built on private property of the Palestinians. The EU delayed a meeting with Israeli officials in response to Israel's approval of the bill, and United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres slammed the passage of the law as well, calling the move illegal under international law. A section of the Israeli Comptroller report regarding the 2014 war with Gaza that was released last month was just approved yesterday to be declassified along with the rest of the report. The previously blacked out portion was in regards to the 2014's government's handling of information regarding Hamas's attack tunnels, and was the only part of the report that remained classified until now. Yesh Atid Knesset member Karine El-Harar said that some of the section will remain redacted, however, as it contains sensitive information that can be used against the Jewish state. The contentious section of the Comptroller's report allegedly contained damning evidence against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon with respect to their supposed failure to properly inform the 2014 Security Cabinet of the cross-border tunnel threat, and was leaked to the press weeks before it was slated to be appropriately released. Main complaints about the supposed handling of the issue was brought forth by both Education Minister Naftali Bennett and Yesh Atid party leader Yair Lapid. Both said that they were improperly and untimely notified of the extent of the tunnel issue and pushed for the report in its entirety to be released with the rest of the Comptroller's document.